Metal Guru. Okay, hi there. It's W4, Mr. Music here at Busch on a Sunday morning. Without the bell. Came all prepared, and we have unbelievable boogie for you this morning. See the girls down at the W Wonderful office, wrote here in the log. And the log, of course, is what we follow to make sure the commercials and everything else come off as planned. Anyway, it always says, the Ed Busch Show. And in parentheses, they said, Ed Busch Show, boy, are we going to miss the little trooper. And the same is true here. Really had some exciting times at Radio Wonderful. Let's take a look at the headlines, though, as per what we usually do. American Phantom jets have shot down 2 more communist MiGs over North Vietnam. Both kills came during dogfights yesterday afternoon, about 35 miles northeast of Hanoi. George McGovern says he and Thomas Eagleton will decide at a meeting tomorrow night whether to keep Eagleton on the Democratic ticket. A Boston newspaper says McGovern's aides have already convinced him to drop the Missouri senator. A young Catholic man was murdered in Belfast today as Northern Ireland's violence continues. While India bakes under a drought, the Philippines is suffering landslides brought on by record rainfall. Famine threatens much of India, and the mudslides have already killed at least 23 people in the Philippines. This is a fine way to start off the morning. Something of interest here. Today's 9th game of the World Chess match between American challenger Bobby Fischer and Russian champion Boris Spassky was postponed because Spassky has a sore throat, which is a change in itself. Well, I don't know if you've been listening at all to these Sunday morning affairs that we've been having, pretty much getting into phone calls and guests and things of that nature, but this is going to be a little unusual in that this is my last show here at W4, and indeed the last show in radio after some 10 years of rockin' and a reelin'. So what I hope to do for you today is, all through the years, been asked so many questions. How do you get started? What do you do? Well, Mr. Music wasn't always the giant rock and roll disc jockey, the king of Detroit radio, as it were. There was a time when I was struggling along, say 2-3 weeks ago before I resigned. In any event, what I try and do is trace for you through tape recordings of some of the places I've worked and the things that I've done, and maybe through that you can get an idea of exactly how it is to become the giant rock and roller star that many people have said I am. They usually said that after they fired me, though, by the way. So let's go back right off the top. 10 years ago, to 1962, it was the fall, and I was at Henry Ford Community College, having graduated from Lincoln Park High School, where I used to do all the record hops. Remember that, the sock hops, kids? Hi there, this is Ed Busch, and here's the Capris. There's a moon out tonight, and then you'd hear a little wow in the record, and it'd start up. So then what I did is I talked the Henry Ford Community College whatevers, Board of Governors or whatever they have over there, into allowing us to use their PA system in the grill, which is, since it's a commuter college, there's no dormitories. And talked to a number of people getting involved and formed a radio club and made a presentation tape what this radio station would sound like. And I want to take you back 10 years ago, what it did sound like working in the lunchroom at Henry Ford Community College. Now, a couple of things here. First, there are no commercials, obviously. And secondly, the records have been cut out, so if you start beating your fingers and snapping your fingers to the beat of the music, don't be upset when a microsecond later it's gone, because if we had to play all the records involved, first, the quality would be bad, and secondly, we'd never get any of this done. So let's take you back to 1962 in Henry Ford Community College, and of course you'll notice in listening very carefully that there is absolutely no difference in my voice between then and now.
You would try to if it happened to you.
That's the sounds of Leslie Gore on WHFC, a former bellboy champ, and something that is really making good. And see, the whole thing is that she's, well, it's sort of hard to say. It's her birthday party, and her boyfriend walks in the door, and the whole scene is sort of messed up.
You would try to.
You're the youngsters from Detroit? Oh, yeah. Yeah, whoa, whoa, here comes that Playgirl. And whoa, whoa, here I come. Turn the audio up, thank you. My engineer's not too quick today. That's the sound of the Young Sisters who had Casanova Brown and a thing called Playgirl, and sounds pretty doggone good. There's a lot of new hits out that are on different labels. Here's one by the Righteous Brothers. On the Moonglow label. They really glow. A little Latin loop-de-loop. That's the name of it, Little Latin Loop-de-Loop.
She's a hot foot baby.
Down.
She's my grooving little baby. Little Latin loop-de-loop.
Yeah, there you have the sounds of the Righteous Brothers, the Little Latin Loop-de-Loop, and like I said, you know, a lot of these things are on the Unknown label. Unknown label. I think that would be a cool name, you know, the Unknown label. Anyway, the Righteous Brothers, and the thing they call the Little Latin Loop-de-Loop. Wow! One more time! Shake it, baby! Little Latin Loop-de-Loop. The Righteous Brothers on WHFC, 15 minutes past 6 o'clock. Oh, I'm sorry, Frankie. This is Frankie Lane, 44 degrees outside. This is called Don't Make My Baby Blue. Wow. Sing it, Frankie.
I know that I can't keep her.
Oh, yeah, man. That is really a swinger, too, and it's called Don't Make My Baby Blue. Frankie Lane. Fellas, what do you think of the Ed Busch show?
Blah, 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 caballero.
Oh, come on now. That isn't even nice. Frankie Lane on WHFC, and Don't Make My Baby Blue, which isn't, you know, a real nice thing, but they sing a lot of sad songs, and that's one of them. Here's something a lot nicer in the way of swinging. Ray Barretta. Ba-dum-bum-bum, bum-bum, ba-dum-bum. Called El Watusi, and really comes on.
Caballero,
Yeah,
ahí acaba de entrar Guatú.
right.
Ese mulato que mide 7 pies y pesa 169 libras. Cuando nos bajamos, Guatú.
You see, the whole thing here is that these guys are talking about the Watusi, and they're trying to. One guy's saying it's real good, and the other guy's trying to tell him, well, no, you know, it's not too good.
Nos bajamos, Guatú.
Swing it.
Nos bebemos la caña aquí ahora mismo. ¿Qué es lo que pasa? Bla, 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 caballero. Así que...
Down, 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 right to, let's go steady again. Down, 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 right to, let's go steady again.
Here's Neil Sedaka.
Go steady again. Down, 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 right to, let's go steady again.
Boy, that guy's had a lot of hits. Let's Go Steady Again, his latest one, and he had Alice in Wonderland, which never made it really. But of course he had Break Up Is Hard to Do and many others. Here's a fellow who's on TV all the time, Andy Williams, and Can't Get Used to Losing You. Come on, Andy, sing it, baby.
Guess there's no use in hanging around loving you.
There you have it, the sounds of Andy Williams. Can't get used to losing you. Can't get loose to using you. I can't get that. I don't figure that out at all. Boy, oh boy. 26 minutes past 6 o'clock on the Ed Busch Show. Hear the sounds of the roller coasters. A thing called Spanish Twist.
Well, you can see that I really haven't changed very much. Really interesting. Of course, it was important back then to sing with the songs and talk when they're singing, too. That was important. You got to remember back in those days, Mr. Music was listening to the likes of all the Jack the Bellboys and Lee Allen, people of that nature. And that was the craze, and accordingly, a young whippersnapper disc jockey, of course, was going to try to emulate everything they were doing. And that was over the PA system at Henry Ford Community College. I don't know why that was ever recorded, but after this show will probably be burned. It's 9:12. This is W4 with Ed Busch. This is the last show between 9 and 11 this morning, and we'll do a little news boogie here and return after which with more of the same.
Lawrence Pun Plumondon, who just 106 FM.
All right, it's 9:16 to W4. This is a Sunday morning with Ed Busch, the regular talk show from 9 to 11. And what we're doing here is attempting to show you some of the things that went down in the last 10 years of basically rocking and reeling with Mr. Music. And we've got a lot of strange tape coming up here. This may be one of the strangest. It was 1963, and they built a little FM radio station about a half mile from my house in Lincoln Park. It was WLIN. Lin stood for Lincoln Park. I don't know if you ever heard of it. It was an FM. It's now CAR-FM. I think it's at 92.3, something like that. And back then, FM radio did not have any of the impact that it has today, but I finally got a job running the churches on Sunday night, and then convinced the owner of the station, Dave Kelly was his name, to allow me to play rock and roll on Sunday night. And this is just when Keener hit, 1963, and no one was rocking past 6 o'clock on Sunday night. And then Keener came along and did until 10. So I started the show, I think it was around 10 o'clock. And if only from the standpoint that it was a monopoly, there was a terrific audience. I mean, it was really unbelievable. As you will hear on the tape, I really stink. You know, I've made no particular progress in my travels. But and the music is, as we look back, was not really all hit music, as it were. Just kind of strange music that I liked. And it was a rock and roll show. So I had a chance Friday morning when I got off the air to get on the telephone, and I called Dave Kelly, who was the owner of that station and now an owner of a station in Manistee in the Upper Peninsula. And I called him up and asked him about those days, if you remember when I first started bugging him. Let's give a listen to that. A lot of people ask me, you know, how do you get started in radio? And my first place was a station called WLIN, which is now WCAR-FM. And there was a kid, a punk kid, that owned this radio station. His name is Dave Kelly, and he's on the phone. Morning, Dave.
I really take really serious issue with you on punk kid. LIN, I think, was a good experience. Certainly for me, it was my start as far as broadcast ownership is concerned. Mm-hmm. And it turned out to be, I think, a good experience for you.
Absolutely.
It was one of my first experiences dealing with punk kids that wanted to be in radio. And I remember one item in particular, and it was before the station was on the air, but our facilities were contracted to do a Little League tournament baseball game in Lincoln Park. And as you'll recall, we hauled all of our equipment over there, and we had hired a man from Indiana that was going to be our sports director and never came with the station. But he came up to do the baseball game. This is on top of the dugout that we had equipment set up. And that was one of the first times that I remember connection with you, although you may have been around the station when we were putting the facilities together. But I remember you came up there in your Bermuda shorts, watched us set our equipment up, and asked, what's this, what's that, is that a microphone? You know, no, silly, that's not a microphone.
I hung around a lot.
Yeah, you did. You did hang around a lot, and I wonder now. I think I know. I mean, this is how I got my start in broadcasting. I went to every remote broadcast that the old WJBK ever had, and they were the ones that were doing a lot of them. And of course, Fred Wolf's WXYZ and his Wandering Wigloo. You hung around radio stations. This is how you got involved in the business. This is how you learned the mechanics of it, queuing records, and all that good kind of stuff. The thing is that if you are interested, if you hang around long enough, someday that opportunity is going to come, and they're going to say, hey, listen, we've got a lousy, rotten weekend shift working midnight Sunday morning until 6 o'clock Monday morning. Would you like it? Those are good starts, and I think that the people that start that way in our business, from the very grassroots that are interested in the business, where they hang around to a point where they bug the station management, these are the best broadcasters today, because like yourself and like me, because I'm still in the business, it's part of you. You love it. You live broadcasting. You've never known anything else since I was 14 or 15 years old. This kind of introduction into the business, this kind of interest in broadcasting, is certainly a good base and an excellent background. And I think that any success that you have achieved is the result, certainly, of this kind of interest. The guys that go to the 9-week jock school to learn how to be a star on radio are certainly, they may be interested in the business. They may have that desire, but they can't possibly, in the long run, achieve that drive that's really necessary for success, long-term success in the business. And I don't mean just in talent, but I mean in management or sales or any other part of broadcasting. Agree?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. We've talked about that a lot on this show, because, people will call up on the talk show and ask, how do you get into radio?
That's such a difficult question.
Yeah.
I hear it all the time. We've done a couple of things here with young people in our community. Now, we're a town in northern Michigan, 5,000 people. We're operating a full-time radio station, 1,000-watt daytime, 250 watts at night. But we're a small-town radio station. The opportunities for people in a small town to become involved in broadcasting, unless you've got a station really that's interested in the youth in their community, is kind of few and far between. We worked out a program with our high school, though, where students from the school, because no school system can duplicate the physical plant of a radio station for training purposes, students in the school can become involved in a student training program at the high school and actually train on the job here at the radio station with all of the on-the-air conditions. The result is that I've got 3 of these people working for me now, 1 on a part-time basis and 2 that have graduated from school, that are on the air and are doing a fine job for us. And what we've actually done is, because of our interest in these people, created career opportunities for them that they would have not had any other way, or that would have cost them a good deal of money had they had to go to a jock school or a licensed training school or whatever.
Dave, let's go back to WLIN. When did that go on the air?
We went on the air in November of 1962, November 2nd, I believe.
Okay, as I recall, the station was built about a half mile from my house. And it was
on 4th Street in Lincoln Park. And we occupied a building that was about 2,500 square feet. We had good studios, good equipment.
Terrific studios. I remember that.
Some of for that time in broadcasting, especially in FM, some of the finest equipment that we could possibly put together. And in looking back on it now, of course, hindsight, is a great way to win a ball game. If I had to do it over again, I would do it all different. But the problem was that we were trying to serve a small portion of the suburban Detroit community with a facility really that had the ability to serve most of metropolitan Detroit. We tried to localize the station too much. We should have gone after the big bucks and after the big money and gotten involved in the Detroit market, and not taken the course that we started off with. And of course, later we altered it. We did move downtown. We were a full-time, 100% jazz program radio station.
Except on Sunday night.
Except on Sunday night. And, well, really, Sunday night was the only exception, because we had a good deal of religious programming on Sunday night, as you'll recall.
Mm-hmm.
And on Sunday morning also. And, of course, the rock thing on Sunday night, which, interestingly enough, had good listenership.
Yeah,
I wonder what would have happened, and this goes through my mind occasionally in thinking back about the days gone by. What would have happened if back in 1962 we would have put that station on the air and programmed it with a CKLW type sound, or a solid gold format, or all country? As you'll recall, WEXL was the only country station in Detroit at that time. Could have been very interesting, and of course, just retaining the property for sale as an example.
Mm-hmm.
It is not uncommon for major market FM properties now to be sold for $700,000, $800,000, $900,000, $1.5 million. It could have been a very good long-term business investment. Of course, as an owner, this bothers me. But it was still an opportunity for me to get my start in management, and it was still an opportunity for people like yourself to get their start in broadcasting.
Yeah, now, if you...
For that purpose alone, it certainly served its purpose.
Okay, now, you had an all-jazz radio station. Why was some pimply kid doing rock and roll on Sunday night? Why was I doing it?
I think you talked me into it, really. Plus the fact that I believed in it. I have always had a concern for other people getting a start in the business. I carried it through into our operation here and our association with our school system. I've always wanted other people to have the same opportunity to get involved in broadcasting that I have. I think because I am in love with broadcasting. And I was, after a while, Ed, I think you develop a sense about people, especially in their ability to succeed in this business. And without patting myself on the back, I think I knew that you had the desire, the native talent, and the ability to succeed in broadcasting. And I was very interested in making sure that you got a good start.
Now, I'll tell you something. This will be embarrassing, but do you remember you used to fire me about every second week?
Oh, yeah.
Now, why was that, Dave?
Oh, I think probably a little bit of immaturity on my part. We had some pretty good go-rounds. I was pretty staid in my ideas about what I thought radio programming on WLIN should be, and you had some pretty good ideas you thought about what it should be.
I got to tell you though, some of the weirdest things was, of course, as a part-timer working, I was getting little money, and I always used to say, how could you fire me if I'm not getting anything? But you did it. You used to fire me all the time, and when it'd be Dave, I'd take your chair out of your office, and you'd fire me.
Yeah.
David, 10 years later now.
One of those things. I probably still do the same thing. Do you think, let me ask you a question, that there are the same opportunities for young people in broadcasting today that there were 10 years ago?
No, but I think I think you can find them, and when people ask me what should you do, the standard answer to hang around a radio station really isn't enough anymore. I suggest they go to college and go to college as a campus station. And then perhaps they can, get 2 or 3 years of experience. And obviously it's not commercial, but usually then you can get a weekend job at some radio station in the college town and build that way.
The average guy in the street does not realize that the complexity of our business has changed dramatically in the last 10 years. The influence of governmental controls, the pressure from the nadir groups or the consumerism groups.
Minority groups.
A lot of these problems have been caused by television, I think. Radio is living with a lot of television's problems, or living with a lot of legislation that television has brought about. Maybe the opportunities aren't as fluid as they were as far as opportunities for young people in broadcasting. But the only way our business is going to succeed, that we're going to be able to meet these challenges, is with a very dynamic, young, forceful, well-educated group of young broadcasters that are interested in making sure that this thing continues. We're a business that's reliant on youth, vitality, vibrance. It's people like yourself that will continue to make the industry grow. People that feel that they have a contribution to make. This is very important.
Well, yeah, I thought about all these things as I contemplate retirement this morning, and I think for me it's just what you said. There are younger people with that passion that it's really important. I hate to make a statement here, Dave, because the TV thing could fail, and 2 months later I'll be back at W4 asking for a job. So you don't want to make it too final. But I have weighed all those things, and I have for 10 years. And I've just come to the conclusion that I've met some really nice people trying to share this morning's show, with some of them. I'm making calls to people I've worked with and for, and that's why I wanted to include you.
I can't believe that you are actually going to retire from radio broadcasting.
A lot of people have said that to me.
And let me make you a bet that within 6 months, that may be a conservative even, you will be working at some radio station somewhere in these United States.
Wow. A lot of people have told me that.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah. They recognize what you recognized 10 years ago. That's in my blood, you know.
Well, we'll find out, because I periodically consider doing other things, too.
Mm-hmm.
But we're still here, we're still on the air, and I'm still very much a broadcaster. And I can't see you any other way, I really can't.
Dave Kelly, thank you very much.
Ed, good luck to you. And if you're in northern Michigan, come and see us. And I would invite your listeners, if they are in Michigan's Great Upper Peninsula, and I trust that at this point you'll let me get a little plug in.
Absolutely.
If you come across the bridge, we're at 1490 on your dial. The community is Manistee in the Upper Peninsula. Our call letters are WTIQ, and we'd like to have you listening.
All right, Dave, we're now going to play a tape of WLIN 1964. This is just before the station, went off the air, was sold. And let's listen to what it sounded like Sunday nights after the church.
Q, and we'd like to have you listening.
All right, Dave, we're now going to play a tape of WLIN 1964. This is just before the station, went off the air, was sold. And let's listen to what it sounded like Sunday nights after the church. This is WWWW Detroit. And remember now, as I play this tape from 8 or 9 years ago, that the music has been cut out, the commercials. There is one commercial, I think, that was kept in it, a story that I told you last week about a broadcasting school in Detroit where 3 people were killed. And this has got to be a collector's item from that standpoint alone. The commercial that you're listening to is done about 4 hours before all the people were killed at this broadcasting school. And I'll tell you the complete story afterwards. But basically, when you hear the commercial in there for the School of Announcing, remember what happened the following morning, and I will explain it further to you after. So let's go back to 1964. The first voice you will hear will be Dave Kelly, 8 years ago, as he was getting out of a church and started introducing my program on a Sunday night.
This is WLIN Detroit, dial 92 FM.
This is the station where big things are happening.
Hi, this is Ed Busch.
Hey, Jose, what did you say?
And this is the swinging Sunday sound of WLIN. Until 12:30 tomorrow morning, it's the swinging sound of the Motor City. Those are the Torquays. It's called Busting Point. And listen, my foot and me are all together tonight on a Sunday night. And I guess you, me, and the Torquays are on the way tonight. LIN this week, it's Busch's Best Bet.
I said, come on, everybody, here is something new. It's a sound from Africa that's easy to do.
This is Jose.
If you wanna be happy and really swing,
The BBB.
click, 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 that's the thing. Come on, everybody do the click.
What?
Click.
What?
Click, click.
That's Jose. Feliciano, that's the BBB on LIN, brought back all the way from Boston.
Come on, pretty mother, didn't I, didn't they? I bet they.
Same to you, fella.
Train, my baby, my baby.
Yeah.
Go button, my baby. Come on.
Come on.
Come on, baby, do the click.
Come on.
It's a real neat trick. Come on, baby, try the click. Come on, you can learn it real quick. Come on, everybody do the click, 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 click.
Jose, Feliciano, come on and do the click. Come on and listen to radio. thought this was TV.
Where big things are happening in radio.
Actually, that fellow, Jose Feliciano, is a folk singer. He was one of the big stars at the Newport, what is that, the Newport Folk Festival? Or what is the other one, Marv? Which one am I thinking of? It's a folk festival, anyway. And he is one of the big folk singers, and this is his first attempt at a rock record. I think it's going to be #1. That's until 12:30. When we say goodnight, baby. This is the Ed Busch Show on radio.
Remember what you promised my mom.
These are the Butterflies.
You told her that I'd be. Wow!
Just a stubborn kind of fellow. That's Marvin Gaye, along with the scratches there.
Big things are happening.
And this is LIN, the Ed Busch Show style, until 12:30, straight through. And I told you a couple of months ago when people wrote in and asked about, what do you do to become a disc jockey and all that. And later on tonight, as I said, a sponsorship will be coming in to inform you about that, and we'll be talking about the Detroit School of Announcing and Speech Incorporated a little bit later on tonight. So if you have any friends that want to know about it, give them a call and tell them to listen, or copy it down for them too. But just a little bit while, and that's a beautiful word, I will be doing that. If you'd like to make a dedication, Woodward 1 WLIN. This is the swell sound of Sinatra, Softly As I Leave You.
Softly, I will leave you.
Softly As I Leave You, Mr. Sinatra. Yes.
Station with a big star.
Let's do a Mexican head dance. A little tough on the foot, but let's try it.
In a little cafe, just the other side of the border.
Jay and the Americans on LIN. Come a little closer.
Sitting there giving me looks,
A little bit.
make my mouth water.
Just a little bit more.
So I started walking her way. She belonged to
That's Jay and the Americans. And come a little bit closer.
kind of man, so big and so strong.
I am.
Come a little bit closer.
I want to come close to you.
All along.
Hey, man.
The night is so long.
Jay and the Americans on LIN, and come a little bit closer. If you'd like to make a dedication, call Woodward 1 WLIN. And I'm sorry that you didn't get a chance to do it last week or vote or anything. And as Marv can attest and everybody, that I was flat on my back. And I want to thank Lenny K and Carter G and Joey Shtick and all those people who did such a wonderful job last week in helping me do my show from my deathbed. And I want to thank them. Why you want to make me blue, fellas? Oh, this is the week we get back at Dave Kelly. Yeah, hi, Dave. How are you? Dave Kelly called me up and he said, ooh.
I love you, girl, with all my heart and soul.
Was the wrong number.
Can't understand why you treat me.
I'm not a girl.
To every whisker.
That's the Temptations on LIN. And girl, why do you want to make me blue? I mean, if you didn't punch me so hard, I would be like black and blue. I can see that, but not so blue. Biggest sound in radio on 92 for you. Last week's BBB.
Well, I once believed.
Doodle-lang, doodle-lang.
Fellas tonight.
Velvet's right here.
Girls, listen to me.
Needle in a haystack.
And take my advice. Come on, everybody do the click, 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 click.
That's Jose Feliciano. That's the BBB on LIN. What are you talking about? Click it, man. Come on.
Come on, baby, do the click.
Come on.
Come on. It's a real neat trick. Come on, baby, try the click. Come on. You can learn it real quick. Come on. Everybody do the click, 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 click.
What are you doing, clicking some more? This is Orbison. Sound about a pretty woman. Woodward 1, WLIN for dedications. Roy Orbison sings Pretty Woman.
Pretty woman.
From WLIN's Musical Hall of Fame, this great plays again. Jimmy Gilmer, all the fireballs. You remember summer '63 in Sugar Shack.
A crazy little shack beyond the track.
That's CL in the pictures, and He'll Only Hurt You. For Joe and Bob and William and Cynthia, Dan and Karen, Al and all the cool kids at Redford. For Mary and John, Judy and Leo and George and Bob, Dave and Judy, Dolores and Jerry and Gary, Lori and Henry, Maxine and Joe, Betty and Kathy, Karen and Denny, Al, Jim, Bruiser, and what is that? Creakley? I don't know, something like that. You understand that, don't you? If you would like to make a dedication, something a little bit more legible, I hope, the number is Woodward 1, WLIN. The Shangri-Las. Do you remember? Those are the Shangri-Las. Remember. And this is the Ed Busch Show on LIN, and it's 19 minutes past 9 o'clock. And I don't know what I'm doing here. Radio. At this spot. You hear it all on big radio. Now, as I told you before, people were asking me about how do you get started in the business, become a disc jockey or television work and everything. And the announcement I am about to make may lead you into a profitable new career. You will need a pencil and paper to write down a phone number, so be ready. There are over 5,000 AM, FM, and TV stations in the U.S. and Canada, and new stations are going on the air every week. Jobs are available for radio and TV performers, announcers, disc jockeys, newscasters, and sportscasters. Many of these jobs pay over $10,000 a year for those with proper training and experience. The Detroit School of Announcing and Speech will provide you with the proper training, and when you graduate from a 3-month course, will assist you in getting the experience needed. Now, here's the phone number, 273-4340. The Detroit School of Announcing and Speech Incorporated was established in 1954 and is approved by the state of Michigan. Call 273-4340. Ask for Pierre Paulin or Art Lang, two experienced Detroit announcers, and get details of the next course, which begins September 21st. The Detroit School of Announcing and Speech, 15909 Hartwell, Detroit 27, 273-4340. Now, free auditions where you get a chance to ask questions and let them hear you so you can discuss the things that you want to take up in the course will be held this Tuesday and Wednesday at 7 p.m. And that's, of course, at the school at 15909 Hartwell in Detroit. Call first thing Monday, 273-4340.
This is the station where big things are happening.
Now we'll make the announcement again one more time later on in the evening in case you didn't get that. This is old Roger Miller, still drinking a bit with Chug-a-Lug, Chug-a-Lug, Chug-a-Lug.
Chug-a-lug, chug-a-lug.
Chug-a-lug, Chug-a-Lug.
Make you wanna holler, howdy-ho.
Howdy-ho.
Burns your tummy, don't you know?
Don't you know?
Chug-a-lug, chug-a-lug.
This is your chance.
Here's rhythm.
I can't get you in.
Here's rhythm.
Oh, I'm glad to roll
see now. I wonder if what it says on the paper is true. 9 to the right. And 2 to the left. I don't understand. What is that there?
You found the right combination of sound in Detroit. This is WLIN 92 FM.
Big things are happening in radio.
This is Marvin. He's a little gay tonight.
Baby, don't you do it.
Baby, don't you do it.
Don't do it, baby.
Don't do it, baby.
Don't break my heart.
Don't break my heart.
Don't do it, baby. Don't break my heart. Baby, don't do it.
That's Marvin Gaye and Baby, Don't You Do It. Don't let him catch you at it anyway.
Radio
It's bigger than ever. I am in such lousy voice,
bigger things.
you wouldn't believe it.
Better things
Maybe you would. You're listening.
happen every day.
Oh. Oh, watch my ears, man. Don't step on my foot.
What's your problem now?
It's Bush's best bet. Hey, Jose, what did you say?
Yes.
Come on, everybody, here is something new.
Jose. Oh, what else can you really say? Dionne Warwick, and a house is not a home. Dig the Saxon in. Winner, 63. These are the Kingsmen. A little Louie.
Louie.
Oh, no.
Well, believe it or not, that was it. Back in 1964, WLIN, which no longer exists, is now WCAR. And there's a very interesting story that goes along with what happened that night and the following morning, which we'll get into in a moment. Got a couple of all-star guests here in the show. Willis Ray Dunaway is here from Radio Wonderful, W4, and Ron O'Brien. Say hello, Raul.
Hello.
Isn't that good, huh? Ron did mornings here. In fact, I took over from you, didn't I? Mm-hmm. Anyway, Ron did mornings here for 2-3 days. And went off to Atlanta, where he worked for about 3-4 weeks. And he's now in Chicago making the giant bucks that all us disc jockeys strive for, through all the heartaches, through all the sadness, just to make the kind of bucks he makes. He's at WCFL now. And also John Harding is here. Say hello, John.
Hello. Dave Watson's here.
Dave Watson's here. John, walk up to the microphone. I want the people to see here in Detroit what it sounds like when you really work on your voice. Say hello.
It's kind of caught up right now. I can't talk to him.
John is out of work right now, and if any radio station is listening. Now, he works WCAO in Baltimore, so it's an all-star show. Let's take care of a couple commercials here. This is W4 in Detroit at Busch, and I'll tell you the story, all right?
The 72 NASCAR Grand National Champion, taking anything for granted.
Oh, how is Andy and Dolly these days? 9:49 at W4. This is Ed Busch. Your friends of the wireless remind you to always obtain a written estimate on any type of repair work, especially the engineers here at W4. Man, they are really... In the business, it's called lowball. They give you a low figure and they charge you much more.
Wrong, Ian.
I mentioned about... I got coaching from the sidelines. I mentioned about what was happening at WLIN when I read those commercials, and basically this was it. There was a school of announcing, Detroit School of Announcing and Speech, I think it was. It was run by two guys, Art Lang and Pierre Paulin. And I had gone to that school, I think about a year earlier or something, and got to know the fellas pretty well, and they advertised on my Sunday show. Now, this is what was going to happen. I was supposed to go over the next morning. This was Sunday night of the show. Monday morning, I was supposed to go over and see them and see if they had gotten any response to the commercials they had run. But I had, the weekend before, been playing softball. It was football as the fall. I was playing football, and I had torn a ligament in my foot, so I was not getting around very well. And I called them on the phone and said I would, not be able to come over the next day, and that was pretty much it. So the next thing I heard was Monday afternoon, there was a bulletin on television that at this school of announcing they had found 3 bodies. And I immediately thought that, Pierre Paulin and Art Lang, the guys that I had known, had been killed, and someone else. And as the story unfolded, it turned out that a woman had accompanied Pierre Paulin and another guy back to the School of Announcing, and they had been indulging in whatever people do, and her husband found them all there and ended up killing all three of them. Now, the most unbelievable thing about this is that they were killed about 2 o'clock Monday morning, and I was supposed to go over like 9 or 10 in the morning, and I would have found all those bodies. As it was, since I didn't go, Art Lang found the bodies at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and he was suspected of being the guy that had killed these three people, and it ruined his career. He was working over at Channel 9 doing the weather and announcing, and it ruined his career in Detroit. He's now in L.A. and doing very well, but it's one of those tricks of fate. You never know exactly what's going to happen. So that's the story about the School of Announcing and Speech. The next little bit we have here, in case you're wondering what's happening, this is the normal Sunday talk show, but this is my last day here at Radio Wonderful. In fact, the last day in radio for Ed Busch, that being me. And so what I'm doing is sharing with you some of the adventures I've gone through. And I had left WLIN, and I wanted to get a job. They had been sold, and I was out of work. And I called a station in Flint, gave them a tape, and said, I sure would like to work for you. And they said, no, we don't like your work, and you should get out of radio, which has received a lot of credence through the years. And so I got a call from Terry Knight, if you remember him. Terry worked over at CKLW at night, and, of course, had the Pack and now the Grand Funk. If the lawsuits come through, you will. In any event, Terry said, hey, do you want to work up here? He had heard me on LIN, if you can believe that. He hired me from that. He said, come on up and work. So I became Casey Jones, as WTRX was home of the Jones Boys, and here's the song.
Guess who? Time for more music. As you ride the rail.
Oh, we're just going to have a Marvy time tonight. We've got Top of the Pops at 8 o'clock. We've got Beatle interviews. We've got music. Let's get on with it. Barry McGuire's got number 3 in the Great Music Survey, The Eve of Destruction. Casey, until midnight.
Eastern world, it is exploding. We're on the eve of destruction.
That's Barry McGuire. The Eve of Destruction is number 3 in the Great Music Survey for Judy and Ray, Carol and Desi, Dolores and Mary, Sharon and Debbie and Pam, Monita, I guess that is, and Jack, Debbie, and Laura, and for Lori and Randy.
Coca-Cola, Coca-Cola. Now at your favorite store.
So are you listening?
So listen.
Oh, yeah.
WTRX.
This is Casey till midnight. Tricks time is 8 minutes past 7 o'clock. Tricks temperature is 59 degrees. Weather to word is dark. This is the DC-5.
Here they come again.
Come on and catch me if you can.
Catch us if you can. Time to get a move on.
That's Dave Clark 5. It's called Catch Us If You Can. That's number 20 on the Great Music Survey. Tricks time is 10 minutes past 7 o'clock. Let us check the weather here.
From the Tricks Weather Tower.
Cloudy and cool with occasional light rain and a few thunder showers tonight, tomorrow, and tomorrow night. A low tonight in the mid-50s. High tomorrow in the mid-60s. Low tomorrow night in the mid-50s. Oh, that's wonderful. It's all mid there. Wednesday, partly cloudy and cool. Humidity 82%. Tricks temperature dotted line down underneath it there. It's 59 degrees. That's
Have you heard about this new discovery for the relief of hemorrhoids without surgery?
It's where the action is. It's Tricks on the Casey Show.
Oh, baby, come on. Oh, baby, come on. Oh, baby, come on. Baby, come on. It's so neat to meet you, baby, where the action is.
Oh, baby, come on. That's Boomer. That's Freddie Cannon for the Great Music Survey. That's number 21. It's called Action. That's what you got on the Casey Show. Tricks time is 14 minutes past 7 o'clock. What do you want, Bermuda?
Casey, we're going to switch now to our remote reporter, and he's going to fill us in.
Okay, come and report.
6 billion years ago, great natural explosions rocked the Earth, and a living, breathing thing was born. A week ago, last Tuesday, it shuddered, slithered, and made its way from the slimy depths of the Marianas Trench.
You're listening to the Casey show.
Sports Go. Wait a minute.
Here's the TRX Sports Go.
Thanks a lot, Bermuda. The weather, The sports is brought to you by Aunt Nina. Los Angeles Dodger manager Walt Austin said he will try and win the National League pennant by pitching Sandy Koufax and Don Drysdale as much as possible for the rest of the season. That's really clever thinking. The Dodgers, leading the league by 1 1/2 games, have 4 days off in September, and Austin thinks that will give his weary and injured riddled staff the rest it needs.
Rise it and eat, that's all you do.
The food is great. Thank you very much. For Jack and Beverly, Barb and Kurt, for Stephen, for Scotty and Gary, for all the girls at Vicky's party, and all the gang at Bentley, for Bertie and the Birds, for Mickey and Elaine, Marianne and David, Linda and Bert, Judy and Greg, and to Camellia and Jim. Wait a minute, you can't do that. Here's the Supremes, Diane. Nothing but heartaches. That's number 11 on the Great Music Survey, and everybody, I suppose, by now knows Train on the Casey Show. Hi, Train. What do you want? You've brought... Oh, no, not again. You brought Pierre to Lafitte back, right? I could tell. I saw him standing over there. What's he going to demonstrate tonight? How to do the Mexican head dance. How do you do that on the radio? It's difficult. You're not kidding. Okay, Pierre to left feet. Oh, Pierre to left feet. I'm sorry. Same to you. Okay, Pierre, get on with it. Let's see how you do. That's the way he did the waltz, too. There's no difference.
60 times a week, you have a chance to win $1,000 or more on the exciting Tricks Quickie Quiz. On the exciting Tricks Quickie Quiz.
$1,600 in the QQ. That ain't hay, that's bread. Here's Kathy Kirby. It's number 10 on the Great Music Survey. When you meet a boy you like a lot, you fall in love, but he loves you not. That's the way of love.
When you meet a boy.
That's the way of love, and that's the way it goes. For Susie and Freddie, and for Janet and Danny, for Ellen and Bobby, Jack and Denise, and for Gail and Richard, Peggy and Bill, and to Linda and Jim, or Bruce, whichever one she likes the most out. She can't make up her mind.
Hitching Post. Yeah! There's a wedding in Jonesville.
The Hitching Post is brought to you by Roberts, David, Allen. Congratulations from Tricks to Ted Landers and Diane Mickelson, who will be hitching there very shortly. And of course, my sympathy is a bachelor there.
I believe a gal's most important accessory.
Oh, boy. Quiet, Bermuda. What do you want?
Hey, I'm working for an elevator company. Ask me how's business.
All right, how's business at the elevator company?
Oh, just up and down.
Would you get out of here? Here are the Turtles.
Go away from my window. Hey, baby. I said no, 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 it ain't me, babe. I said no, 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 it ain't me, babe. I said no, 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 it ain't me, babe. I said no, no, no.
You're in the swim with the Turtles. It ain't me, babe. That's number 27 on the Great Music Survey. And you're on Flint's most frequently frequented frequency.
Sounds good to me. WTRX. This is the place that is setting a place, the friendly giant. Oh, giant.
From Tricks, home of the Jones Boys, here's the picket of the week.
Let's play it for Arthur Teal of 5436 Marianne. It's a San Remo Golden Strings. It's hungry. Starving for love. It's the big hit. That's a San Remo Golden Strings. It's hungry for love. It's a Tricks Big Hit of the Week. For Annette and Ricky, Carmelia and Jim, Janet and Larry, Lonnie and Rosie, Gary and Sally, for Brian and Pat, and for Laura and Terry. Tricks time, 29 minutes past 7 o'clock. Let's break the station. This
is WTRX Link, a service in entertainment for Jonesville.
They're not too particular. Here's Week 5. It's number 7 on the Great Music Survey, and you were on my mind when I woke up this morning.
When I woke up this morning, you were on my mind.
That's Week 5, and you were on my mind. It's number 7 on the Great Music Survey. Tricks time is 28 minutes before 8 o'clock. We will have Pop of the Tops, or Top of the Pops, so I don't understand. From the Tricks Weather Tower. Well, the weather looks like this, cloudy and cool with occasional light rain and a few thunderstorms tonight, tomorrow, and tomorrow night. Low tonight in the mid-50s, high tomorrow in the mid-60s. Low tomorrow night in the 50s. Wednesday, partly cloudy and cool. Humidity 82%. Tricks temperature is 59 degrees east.
WTRX in Flint.
For the Great Music Survey, more music, most often from Tricks Lynn Berry, former Big Hit. It's number 18 this week. It's 1, 2, 3. You're on the Casey Go to midnight. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 4, 5, 9, 8. Oh, that's and that's how it was back in the summer of 1965. This is WWWW Detroit, and my name is Ed Busch. So far I've been Casey Jones. What else have I been in this hour? Yet coming up is Edward Allen Busch, my adventure at Keener. And this is the normal 9 to 11 Sunday talk show, just what usually goes on. No, actually what I'm doing is leaving Radio Wonderful and the management here, which includes, who's that guy? John Dew, general manager, and Ira Lipson, the program director, said, well, listen, since you're going off the air, you might as well show why. So I'm playing all the old shows, and that's the truth. And Tricks was an unbelievable place. Was really my first opportunity at making money. As I remember, made $90 a week, which was big bucks. Yeah, the last time I made that kind of money too, which was big bucks, $90 a week. And the people were really nice. And I remember the excitement of the first day on the air and getting out in the car and driving down Bristol Road, which is one of the main drags there in Flint. There is only one, isn't there, in Flint?
Is there a Flint?
Is there a Flint? Yes, indeed there is. Ask C.J. Jones. He'll tell you that there was. In any event. Yeah, right. I remember pulling up to a stoplight and having them listen to Tricks. You know, the radio was playing through the convertible, and I just couldn't believe it. People were actually listening to a station that I was on. I mean, when all you've been on before is the PA system in the cafeteria at Henry Ford Community College and WLIN, which no one even really knew existed except for a handful. It was all quite exciting. From there, I traversed to CKLW, and we'll get to that in a moment.
Are you a lazy shopper? Relax. Lots of people are.
A Sunday morning with Ed Busch. CKLW was very exciting for me. I went there 2 weeks past my 21st birthday, which at that time was quite revolutionary. It was before anything you'd recognize now at CKLW. If you're an oldster, say even 25 years old, you might remember this. That's old, isn't it? I'm 27. I fall asleep quickly. You might recognize what went on back then. Back there we had Dave Schaefer, who's still there at CKLW, and Joe Van, Bud Davies, Ron Knowles. That was RK, your swing and sway DJ. He's now in Phoenix. Why don't you show something for his smartness anyway? And Robin Seymour was on then. In fact, this tape is of a show of me working for Robin Seymour, I think on a Saturday night. Although I had a regular show, you know, who knows where these tapes come from, but I have the tape a night that I was working for Robin Seymour, and this is what it sounded like at CKLW in 1966. That's 5 o'clock World from the Vogues. It's 10 o'clock in the Motor City. CK 2020 News in 20 minutes. See you in 60 seconds on the Robin Seymour Show with a little bit of Roy Head.
2020 Weather Watch. CK Weather Control, take it.
2020 weather word, chilly. Partly cloudy tonight and tomorrow. Not as cold tonight, low 30. A little warmer tomorrow, high 47. Mostly cloudy, not much change in temperatures tomorrow night and Friday. The forecast for Ohio, clear but not quite so cold tonight. Low 24 to 30, partly cloudy, a little warmer tomorrow and tomorrow night. High tomorrow in the 40s. Friday, mostly cloudy with scattered showers and little temperature change. Weather watch reading, 37 degrees. Weather every hour. More music now.
Back we go on Record Row 8-0. Here's Roy Head.
I don't want much, just a little bit, baby. I just want a little bit
Oh, come on.
No, just want a little bit.
Teeny little bit.
Just itty winny bit.
Tiny bit.
Itty winny bit of your love.
Now let's go on time.
Turn your lights out, baby.
Are you too much? That's a little bit of Roy Head on Giant CK. It's 2 minutes past 10 o'clock. The Robin Seymour Show until midnight. Happy fella. Ed Busch. Until that time.
This is Giant Radio, CKLW, AM and FM, in Windsor, Ontario.
Oh boy, wait till I see my paycheck. I'll be happy. Carlos Thompson is the guest in tonight's Man of the World episode, The Sentimental Agent. And love this name, Mike Strait is imprisoned. How could they imprison a straight guy, right? For taking photographs in a banned area. That's where they have a large and loud band playing. And a charming rogue comes to his rescue. Don't miss Contact 9 tonight at 11:30 on CKLW. Television 9 beats everything inside. Hey girl, I want you. Here's Tony and Terry.
Hey, 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 girl, take a look at me. Ooh, I want you, I'll be with you. I want you.
That was a teen tune 2 weeks ago from Tony and Terry, and I want you. It's 6 minutes past 10 o'clock on Giant CK. 37 degrees and cool weather in CK country. The Robin Seymour, the Boyd Show. Hey, give me, you got room there, give me the bird. Would you give me the bird? I've always wanted to do this on Robin Seymour's own show. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to give Robin the bird. Here it is.
Here's Frankie Avalon for Christmas seals.
Christmas seals and all your holiday gifts and mail show that you care. So answer your Christmas seal letter and use lots of Christmas seals this year. Thanks.
CKLW in the Motor City. I used to walk with you.
That's the fabulous voice of Roy Hamilton, appearing for 12 days, beginning December 7th at the Top Hat Supper Club. Make reservations now for your Christmas party at the Top Hat Supper Club in downtown Windsor. That's a great show. Oh, you know, a lot of people think rich people are different than other kinds of people. To be redundant, say people all the time, but really they aren't. And rich people cry, but they cry in a different way. You know, like you and I might cry in a dirty old hanky or something. They would cry on a...
Satin pillows to cry on.
Here's Bob Vinton.
Satin pillows to cry on. You've got nothing else to rely on. Satin pillows.
Okay, well, there was CKLW. Interesting place. They had a guy over there. I guess I probably shouldn't mention the names, but I was working part-time on a Sunday afternoon, and the air conditioning, as most air conditioning do in a business place, they fail a lot, and the thing never seemed to work. And it was a Sunday afternoon, very hot, and I was at CKLW the usual way I dressed all through my entire career, and that's with a straw hat, sunglasses, and Bermuda shorts. So I was sitting there, and the engineer said, "Hey, why don't you do the show outside?" So I said, "Well, you know, can we do that?" He said, "Sure." He says, "We'll get you a long cable." So they ran the cable out to the back lot, the parking lot, and they gave me a radio so I could listen to, you know, what was going on in the air. And what we did was shout down the hall. If I said, you know, I wanted the new Rolling Stones record or something, I would shout down the hall, and he would put the record up, okay? So I'm sitting out in the backyard in the parking lot at CKLW on this Sunday afternoon, very similar to a day like this, kind of warm and sunshiny. And I told the people I was out there and said, "Why don't you come by?" You know, so all of a sudden the place is jammed with cars and bicycles and things. And we had a very businesslike general manager. His name was Bob Busch. I guess I will mention his name. And he drove up. Now, you know, usually when you're out, you're at a, well, like we were at Windsor Raceway when it first opened up, or you're at a store opening, you're at some kind of remote where they're paying money for you to be out there and to advertise their product, to promote it. So Bob Busch, seeing all these hundreds of people in the parking lot on a Sunday afternoon, and me in my straw hat and sunglasses and Bermuda shorts, walked up to me and said, "Is this an authorized remote?" This gives you an idea about the dynamite management there at one time. In any event, he then went in and called the program director, tattletale that he was, and within 10 minutes I was inside again. But it's apparently is a legend story. They tell that a lot over there, but then they don't have much to talk about, right? It's 10:11 at W4, and this is Ed Busch's Sunday Morning. And we're reviewing some of the days in radio, and next up is WKNR. And we'll talk with program director Paul Cannon over there and give you a little listen of what happened there after we listen to the news.
The controversy over Democratic Vice Presidential nominee Thomas Eagleton doesn't bother Republican Congressman Gerald Ford from W4.
Since we're talking about what happened to old Mr. Music through the years, one of the events was, I think, in 1968, when I went to work first for Keener FM. We have on the phone Paul Cannon, who was the program director then. Good morning, Paul.
Good morning to you, Ed.
Oh, there's that voice. That always got me, Paul. See, I was unemployed from Toledo. I think I was working at Channel 56 at the time over at Wayne State. And I remember bugging you a lot, Paul. Do you recall that at all?
Yeah, I do, as a matter of fact. I don't remember your technique, but quite a few people had done that, and it works sometimes, you know. Finally, you get to the point where you have a job opened, and you say, well, this guy's been talking to me now for the last 6 months, like every hour on the hour. He's got to get first consideration, and you get some consideration.
And let's see, I went to work in FM. At that time, it was the same as AM, right?
Right. We were, you may have to refresh my memory in some respects, because 4 years back, yeah, we were sort of duplicating on the FM what we were doing on the AM. Top 40, if you will, contemporary, depends upon your choice of words for that. We were simulcasting part of the time, playing the same programming on AM and FM, and then other parts of the day, separate broadcasting. We had about, at that time, I forget who was on the air at that time, about 3 guys, I think, who were strictly doing FM. Is that right?
Yeah, I don't even remember who they were either. I remember I took over after Bob Harper at 10. And Bob was on AM, and we separated at 10.
Okay, well, you know, after a while, it just becomes one great big DJ, you know, having different faces and different names. But it was just, well, of course, we had both stations going at the same time. It was a little bit hard to orient who was doing what. And there's a lot of crossover, too, because a lot of the guys who were on FM moved over to AM about that time period. Sean Conrad started on the FM. Ron Sherwood was on the FM, first of all. Bob Harper, whom you mentioned. Who else?
Yeah, I did that.
You did? Yes, I know you did.
Yeah.
And we had some of that in reverse, too. Jerry Goodwin was on AM and then left and came back working on the FM.
When it went progressive, though.
That's right. Yeah, Jerry was doing progressive, all right, whatever you choose to call that again, too. A little heavier music.
Yeah, I remember that, boy, because the AM format, as it continued, was very tight, and you really weren't allowed to say much. And then one day we held a meeting.
Yeah.
And you brought in about 100 albums.
Right.
And you said, go home and listen.
Right.
And we all of a sudden, the next day, we were progressive.
That's right. And I think I also said, too, that basically the intention here is everything that we told you, everything that you thought regarding contemporary radio, forget it.
Right.
Immediately, and don't do it. In fact, do just the opposite of whatever it was you were doing on the AM.
Okay, so then somehow or other I got over to AM. What was the thinking? You as the program director, what were you looking for? How did I find myself on AM?
Well, could I say I was desperate for a body and a voice? Would that be fair to say that?
Probably. Probably the most truth has been said this morning.
We put you on at 10 o'clock to 1 o'clock.
Right.
Oh, no, you're a young fella. You're still not ready for your Social Security, and we needed that kind of attraction, I thought, at that time. We had pretty young staff, as a matter of fact, too. I'm talking about a projection of sound. You didn't have that, as we term it, the housewife type of voice, right? So it's a matter of elimination more than anything else. We thought we had some pretty good things going at some other time periods, and you put people where you think they perhaps belong in regards to their approach, their thinking, the way they sound, the way they act. It's arbitrary as the dickens. You can't be scientific when it comes to what people like and don't like. You can make educated guesses, and you can say, well, it worked last year. It worked someplace else. This thinking has worked. We all know, though, by the same token, that the business itself is a constantly changing business. Nothing stays the same. Let's face it, what we did in 1968 would be really ha-ha today. I think people would not like it.
They're going to hear it because I have a tape of Keener.
Oh, yeah. Well, I wish I could be there to hear that. When are you going to be putting that on the air?
All this, we're talking to Paul now Friday morning, and this will all be on Sunday morning.
This is going at the same time, not while we're talking, I know, but I mean, is it going on before or after our conversation, since I can't hear the station?
Afterwards.
Oh, well, good. It's coming up. My antenna won't reach quite that high.
From Peoria, Illinois, right?
No. And now your frequency is at 107, 106 point...
106.7.
Well, we have a station here at 106.9, and our station's 105.7. So, although I've heard that people in Detroit have heard stations from this far away, and vice versa. I've heard a Detroit FM station here in Peoria on one occasion. Believe it or not, in my car radio.
Wow.
WJR FM, I heard. For a matter of a couple of hours. And that's strange because on that same frequency, the station in Chicago, I went in St. Louis, but I heard WJR FM.
Freak skip.
Well, it was.
Okay, now, Paul, I seem to recall that during this time when you were my program director, and for people that don't understand that, he was, as the name implies, director of programming the station, so he handled all the guys. And I seem to recall I had some female difficulties, right?
You're talking about your personal life.
Yes, right.
And the kind of situation you went through.
And the kind of situation I put you in is my...
You were the human yo-yo at that particular time.
Yes.
And it seemed to relate almost always to the feminine gender and and where you happened to be in regards to a particular girl at a particular time. I remember, I don't remember exactly who it was or what it was, but you called me up and you were calling almost from the Ambassador Bridge about to jump off. One night. Do you remember that?
Oh, yes. And I think I asked for a night off, didn't I?
That's what you did, exactly. Are you sick? No, I've got... oh, it was terrible. Pathetic.
I remember a quote you gave me, though, and I've always carried this. You said, Ed, if you are going to kill yourself, promote it on the air first. It's true.
Did I really say
that? Yes, you did. And that kind of helped. I hated you, but...
Did I give you the night off?
Yes, you did.
I thought I did, yeah.
I seem to recall. I have a real nervous stomach, right? And those things used to drive me crazy. And I remember that of all the people I ever worked for, Paul, that, at least you understood that. Maybe you had some difficult women problems, but you understood.
I have a nervous stomach myself, having an ulcer, you see.
Oh.
Well, and I'm sympathetic to that. I have no problems when it comes to females. No.
We'll skip right over that, huh?
Right. I just say it that way and let it go. No, I do remember you having a lot of problems, and I remember you were engaged and unengaged a number of times in a very short period of time, if I remember correctly.
This will sound like this is your life to a lot of people, but that's really what was happening.
What are we talking about?
Right, I suppose so.
Okay.
The rock and rolling career.
All right.
So anyway, then I think just before you left, I was doing noon to 3 and 10 to 1, both double shift. Somebody left. Tom Neal had left, I think.
Could be. I have great difficulty in remembering it because there was an awful lot going on and a lot happening. And, of course, we were in a situation, too, that was a little difficult, all of us collectively, at that particular station at that particular time because there was more than a little bit of uncertainty as to what was going to happen next, if we dare talk about that at all.
Yeah, absolutely. There was a sale coming up.
Yeah, well, not only coming up, the sale had been announced. This was back in 1968. In June, I think it was, May or June.
Well, Keener was sold twice, and once it worked.
That's right. It was sold, and we had a meeting, and the owner at that time said, I have sold the radio station to, and here's the gentleman I sold it to, and he was introduced to us. And he didn't seem like a bad guy, but he had his head honcho in charge of his radio operations, because he had a couple of stations, I think, was there, and everybody disliked him immediately. Strangely enough, too, this guy had the same name that I did, the same family name, and he is the first guy that I have ever met in my whole life who had the same name as I, who wasn't my cousin or something, or my sister or my brother or something.
Some relative, yeah.
Yeah, but he wasn't. But he was a bad guy, and it made everybody a little bit nervous. And that thing went on for a long time. That thing meaning the sale without it being consummated with the approval of the FCC. Very, very hard conditions. So we tried very much at that time to forget it, say onward and upward, and then that sale fell through, and another one was made. Another deal was made, and somebody else came in and said, I bought the station now, and it finally was approved by the FCC, and the transfer was made in, I think, the very end of December, last of December, or the first week in January, 71. And and so in that period of time, and we had the FM, as you mentioned a bit earlier, with its progressive format, trying to do things with that. And if you remember, too, late in 1970, the Paul McCartney is dead situation.
Oh, yes, right.
Which I just happened to think about. I hadn't planned to mention it, but it was probably the biggest thing, spontaneous promotion that has ever happened anywhere in the history of radio, maybe in the world, because it became a worldwide thing. And of course, it started at WKNR FM, if you remember that.
The guy that's replacing me on this Sunday talk show, Paul, is the fella.
Who's that?
Russ Gibb.
Oh, is Russ going to take your place there?
Yes.
Ah, well then, I don't know if he's told the story very often or not. Is it fair that I do that now?
Yeah, you can relate a few of it, right?
Okay, quickly. Russ was on a Sunday morning. I think it was November 11th. The date is not important. Early in November. I remember the circumstances. It was, and I should say, Sunday early in the afternoon, because we had an Alsac show that day at Cobo Hall. We had that appreciation show every year for the people who did the door-to-door collecting, right? And we had about 20 acts, and I had to be at Cobo Hall. And when I got finished with this thing, I heard about the commotion that had happened at the station. It was sort of a surprise to me. I didn't know what was going on, but Russ told me that he had gotten a call from somebody from Ypsilanti who said, "What do you know, Gibb, about this Paul McCartney is dead thing?" And Gibb says, "I don't know anything about it." And he said, "Well, there's some rumors going around school right now." This was at Eastern, is where he was. He said, that McCartney is dead, and there's some clues to this, and he's been dead for a long time, and they do weird things in some of the albums. Gibb said, "Well, this doesn't make any sense to me. If he was dead, we'd know about it." So the fellow said, "Well, hey, this album cuts, you play it backwards, and like the number 9, I think, right? Isn't that one of the things that if you played backwards, it said Paul is a dead man? That's it." He said, "If you play that backwards," and he gave him another thing, because later on we found, zillions of clues that, of course, were mostly imagination of people. I think the Beatles may have had something going. I don't know, but it wasn't maybe what we all thought it was at a given moment. And then Russ said, "Hey, he did it on the air, played the record backwards."
Yeah, and as I recall, he really reacted. He really freaked.
He said, "Wow, that's crazy. What does anybody else know about this or think about this?" And that was it. It was the beginning of that snowball that started going downhill that Sunday. And I remember something, too, that I will very honestly state, too. I had a meeting with you and the DJs who were, at that time, on the AM.
Right.
And I said, this thing is just unbelievably big, because we weren't doing anything on the AM at all about it. The FM guys were talking about it, and John Small and Russ Gibb and Dan Carlisle at that time were going to put together a special program to be played on the air a week later, and they started promoting it. So I said, we're going to do this on our AM station, too. We're going to talk about it. We don't know if he's dead or not. At this particular point, what can you do if the man is dead? You can't bring him back. And if he's not, he's in a situation where something is going on. At least these clues are intriguing, and we should pursue it. And I think you and a couple of the other guys said, no way, let's stay away from it.
Yeah, right. I was very moral about the whole thing, saying I thought it was a bit of a hoax.
Yeah, well, and I couldn't argue with you, but I thought if it is a hoax, I'm pretty foolish to sit back and say it's a hoax and say, don't listen to our program this coming Sunday.
Yeah.
Don't listen to our radio station for information, and don't react to what we're doing, because we were in a business. I'm still in that same business where you want people to listen to what you're doing and to react to, and to feel like, the station is at least, if not, the authority. They're sort of like where things are happening, and it got to the point where people began to, like the other stations, first of all, if you remember CKLW, no one's going to go for that deal. Well, it wasn't very long before they, and JBK, too, if you remember,
right.
WDE, I guess, said, no way, that's foolishness. But they all got together in a matter of about a week or two and put programs on the air and got involved in it, because it was too big to let it go by.
Do you remember how I got in trouble over there? About when I went on the Bill Kennedy show?
Oh, yeah.
I really
I remember I don't recall what you said or did, but I remember the incident. What was it? Refresh my memory.
Okay, after it was all said and done, you said, okay, we've done more than enough about this, let's just forget it.
Yeah.
So we forgot it, okay? And about 2 weeks later, I was having lunch with a friend of mine at Channel 50.
Yeah.
And I had worked with Bill Kennedy over Channel 9.
Yeah.
And Frank Sinatra Jr. had canceled out, and Bill needed someone to fill. He says, hey, Ed, you can do anything? I said, no. He says, come on. So we're talking, and all of a sudden he springs the McCartney thing on it.
Yeah.
And that's when he asked me, did we really have any proof? And I said, well, no, but the record seems so. It finally came out that, what we were doing is probably exploiting something that may or may not be true.
Right, right.
So, and it was all a dead issue. Well, then I guess a lot of people started calling Keener.
Right.
And I got a call from you who said, get your fanny in here, and I got in there, and boy, did I catch hell.
Yeah. I don't remember that too much about that. I remember what I've told you here, the way the thing goes and the incident as it came up. And of course, we got calls in the next couple of days during that week after this thing first got rolling from New York and from everywhere. You know who I even talked to? The highlight of the whole thing, and I'm being facetious now, Rona Barrett called.
Wow, the biggie.
Isn't that a biggie? Rona Barrett called and interviewed me. And then later on, Russ Gibb, a fellow who wrote an article in the paper, the Michigan, University of Michigan newspaper, I've forgotten his name, and we went out to California, to L.A., and we did a television special about the Paul McCartney is dead thing.
Yeah, was it F. Lee Bailey, too?
F. Lee Bailey, right. He was the host, if you will.
Yeah.
And the interviewer, the prosecutor, I think it was, and it was shown on the RKO general stations. Channel 9 showed it at that time, and other stations around the country. But that was a time when you were, of course, involved with a lot of your problems too. You're talking about your upset stomach there, your sensitive stomach. But that was the very end of '70. And funny thing about that too, I looked at the ratings. WKNR had some very, very serious problems and ups and downs, and what made such a tremendous upswing in the fall of 1970 was amazing.
They never did recover that, now that they're WNIC.
There was like a dip in early 70, and then late in 70, boy, it came to the point where, of course, CKLW had been, just the giant in more ways than one. That their slogan, plus their signal, plus the fact that they were an excellent station.
Right.
And very hard to compete against those 50,000 watts with 5,000 watts. But we did amazingly well in that fall of 1970. Of course, we didn't know about it. When I say we, I mean those who were involved in it, until after most of us had left there.
Yeah.
For one reason or the other, people left. Some were asked to leave, and some thought they would leave before they were asked to leave. And there was like a whole new group that came in then. And in January or whenever the ratings came out, they found out that, by golly, they had just bumped off or let people go who were bringing them back into a reality situation. And that's a personal opinion, of course. But it was strange. Now, of course, it's a different ballgame. It took them 2 years to find out that it was they had done the wrong thing, I believe, anyhow.
Okay, Paul, I'm going to play this tape of...
Sour grapes, by the way, in this. That's just an assessment of it, because what I'm doing now, I couldn't be happier with. When I'm sitting here at my own radio station, doing, what I think is good, I couldn't be happier.
Okay, Paul, I'm going to play the Keener tape now, and people will wonder now, I've been Ed Busch everywhere except a Keener, and this tape says Edward Allen Busch. How did that happen? Do you remember that?
I think my impression of the name Ed Busch, it just came sort of off like sort of a Cro-Magnon or a Neanderthal introducing himself.
Indeed, it was true.
It's just sort of like Ed Busch, Musical, it wasn't, and so as a result, I thought maybe we'd just put a little flourish into it and give you an identity.
Yeah.
A little bit beyond just two very short and concise names. And
so I remember that you said, okay, you're going to go on, tomorrow night, and think of a name.
Yeah.
And I took out one of those things that lists names, and being very creative, I got to the A's.
Yeah.
And I got Allen. So I was Allen Busch for a while, and then I remember I was really incensed because I said, Paul, how can you do this to me? This is my hometown. Everyone knows me as Ed Busch. I was Ed Busch at CK everywhere else.
Yeah.
And so I think we finally struck a compromise, and then this is what they'll hear, Edward Allen Busch, and then finally let me use Ed Busch again.
Yeah, yeah.
But I think people, would be interested why the different name.
Yeah. Well, the radio business is one where you have people who listen to you and could listen to you for weeks and months, listen to that particular station, and then at a time when a rating service asks them what station they're listening to or to whom they're listening, they'd say, I don't know. You try to find things that they can latch on to. Edward Allen Busch is not bad when you think about it now in that context. It's better than a lot of the names, like CK still does it, and I don't agree with that philosophy. They have stock names there.
Right.
Everybody is a wasp on the air.
Right.
No question about it. Do they have any Novaks or anything like that over there?
No, I haven't heard any yet.
I don't think they ever will, too. I think it's just the philosophy of it. Of course, we did some of that, too, but I think the greatest name we ever came up with, though, was
Sean Conrad. Yeah, he still uses that in California.
I thought he was back to his name. Copeland, I think, was his real name.
Ron Copeland.
Yeah.
No, he's Sean Conrad.
Ron Copeland sounds like a phony name.
It does.
Yeah.
But then so does Sean Conrad.
Yeah, well, but he's a real person.
Nice guy.
Yeah.
Hey, listen, Paul, thank you very much.
It was a pleasure.
And next time I retire, I'll call you again.
Okay, very good. And say hello to Russ and to everybody else. Or I can do it right now, can't I? Hello, everybody. And goodbye at the same time.
Thank you, Paul.
Right.
Bye-bye. It's Paul Cannon, who is the program director at WKNR. And you're listening to WWWW Detroit. This is Ed Busch, the 9 to 11 talk show, as we're reviewing some of the biggies we've gone through in the years to become Mr. Music. And we go back now, I think, to 1969 and WKNR.
That's Desmond Decker, the Big Aces. Hello there. This is the one Big Ace, Edward Allen Busch. Keener 13. And this be the Edward Allen Busch Show, named after resident disc jockey rock and roller here. It's Keener's answer to championship bowling. There's a guy with a pretty high voice. That's Frankie Valli of the Four Seasons. You know, you think he'd need an operation to have a voice that high, but actually he had to have an operation to lower it that low. Would you bet your sweet Pippi? Well, during the next 5 minutes, we will accept a call. If the number from which you're calling ends in 4, so if your tele ends in 4, dial Keener at Woodward 38925 and bet your sweet Pippi or anything else.
United States of America. You can sign up for their savings bonds and freedom shares wherever you bank or work.
Keener 13. Yes, low Uncle Sam some money. He can use it. 6:10 with Edward Allen Busch on WKNR. Here's Guitar Zen at Ray Stevens, number 3 for the Keener Music Guide.
He's free as the breeze. He's always at ease.
Ray Stevens on WKNR. Here's a Keener neighborhood note with Edward Allen Busch. The Cody Parents Club will present members of the Detroit Police Department at its Tuesday meeting at the Everett Auditorium beginning at 7:45 p.m. It's a nice way of saying it's going to be a raid. Listen, I hope you don't notice I'm a little bit down tonight, not feeling too well, because just last year I finally unloaded my Edsel dealership, and I got a Corvair. And, well, you know what happened today.
The Keener DJ Caravan.
Friday night, Sean Conrad at Farmington High School from 8 to 11 with Sean, the new Master Tones. Saturday night, Dan Henderson at Aquinas High School on North Line Road in Southgate from 8 to 11. Also Saturday night, Ron Sherwood at Westlow Hall on Quarry Road in Riverview from 8 to 11. Keener DJ Dances sponsored by Detroit Area Public Service Organization.
Anybody notice I'm never on those things?
Bet your sweet Pippi, bet your sweet Pippi.
Maybe I could win a record hop in this game. Huh?
Bet your sweet Pippi.
Stephanie Buckner of Detroit, you're the automatic winner of $2. Now, Stephanie, you can keep the cash or bet your sweet Pippi gets the big Bippy prize or Bippy Booby prize. What's your decision, Stephanie?
I bet my sweet Bippy.
All right, a good sport. That's what we like to hear. Unfortunately, on this show, it isn't going too well for good sports, but let's find out. Good luck. Take a look inside now.
Stardom may be in your future.
All right.
You may sell 1 million records.
Yeah.
You, a recording star?
Uh-huh.
Possibly.
All right.
You have won.
Yes.
A reel of tape.
A reel of tape. A reel of tape.
Booby.
What is this? Oh, man.
Booby.
A reel of tape. Well, okay, Stephanie, I think it's worth more than $2, so we didn't lose altogether. But I'll tell you one thing, I'm glad you had the pride and the courage to bet your sweet Bippy. On this show, it ain't too good of a bet, you know?
Keener 13.
Billy Joe Royal, that's Keener Gold from 1965 with Edward Allen Busch.
Keener 13.
13:10, WKNR Bippy time. Here's the weather. Frost likely tonight. A low of 34. Sunny tomorrow and a high of 62. Keener temperature is 48. Here's the Joe Jeffrey Group and My Pledge of Love. No, not Pledge. Pledge, dummy.
I woke up this morning, baby. My pledge of love. Hey. My pledge of love.
That's number 30 for the Keener Music Guide of the Joe Jeffrey Group. 15:10 with Edward Allen Busch. Practice the name, kid.
Keener 13.
Maybe someone will recognize it. Oh, Stephanie, I forgot to say, also in addition to the great prize you won, the reel of tape, we're also throwing in a season pass to the Wall Lake Casino. Hey! Here's Roy Head. 1965. This is Keener Gold. Going to treat her right, or at least make her think we're doing that. Hey!
WKNR.
17:10 with Edward Allen Busch in 100 minutes of music. At 1 o'clock tonight, Tommy Neal does his number on Keener 13. 48's a WKNR temperature, and here's the Mercy Group with Love.
wake up in the morning.
That's the Mercy Group, part of 100 Minutes of Music from Edward Allen Busch.
Peter 13.
21 past 10, WKNR Bippy time. Let's go back to 1962. For Keener Gold with the Isley Brothers and Twist and Shout.
Shake it up, baby. Shake it up, baby. Shake it up, baby.
Peter 13.
23 past 10. This is Edward Allen Busch at 100 Minutes of Music. The Keener temperature is 48. That's Edward Allen Busch. You might remember the name of the former music director of Popular Mechanics. Goodbye.
Please don't wake me up to
Peter 13.
See that? Papa got a divorce. He's got a brand new bag already. 27 past 10 with Edward Allen Busch.
Peter 13.
Part of 100 Minutes of Music. There's a bad moon up there. There's an ugly-looking guy in the corner down there, too. That's Creed's Clearwater Revival at 10:30.
Peter 13.
On WKNR Dearborn with Edward Allen Busch. Here's Jimmy Jones as we go back to 1960 for Keener Gold.
Oh, you need time. I'll take a good thing. It's too good time to run me to you.
That's Jimmy Jones speaking a good time at 29 to 11. WKNR Bippy time with Edward Allen Busch.
Peter 13.
Here's a look at the weather. Okay, now we continue on to other things. Part of 100 Minutes of Music. This is the Rascals at Sea. Rascals. That's part of 100 Minutes of Music with Edward Allen Busch, and some people call up and say they didn't get a good enough look at the weather, so that should be a little better. For those of you that don't want to bother looking, we'll read it to you a little bit later on.
Peter 13.
You must really be dumb. You got to have the weather right to you, okay. 24 to 11 with Edward Allen Busch, 1965. Here's the Vogues.
Every time we meet.
And that was the adventure at WKNR. It's 10:42. This is W4 with Ed Busch. Got one more to get in for you, and we'll do that in a moment.
Once around life, bright side.
And it's W4, Ed Busch, on a Sunday morning. This is my last morning, not only at W4, but in radio, and so what we're doing is kind of reviewing some of the things we've done. I went from WKNR after, I think, about 6 weeks, then to WCAR, which at the time was a middle-of-the-road station personality, and did talk and various things of that nature. So what I did is combined a bit of showbiz, that being theater, and the talk, and came up with the musical theater where people actually called in and did parts of plays. And this is what it sounded like on the all-night show, WCAR. But then it's not for me to say. That's Johnny Mathis from 1957, and that's Gold with Eddie Busch at WCAR. Hello there. It's 12 until 1, and we are just about to begin with our presentation on the musical theater of Hansel and Gretel. But first, we'd like you to meet tonight's stars. And tonight, starring on the musical theater in the role of the stepmother is Sarah. Hello, Sarah. You ready to start?
I sure am.
Have you had any acting experience before?
No.
Okay, so this is your debut now, right?
Right.
Okay, the world is watching, so do a good job, and we're about to begin, all right?
Okay.
All right. And then playing the role tonight of Hansel is Shelley. Shelley, you ready to go?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Okay, now, you've had some acting experience in the musical theater before, right?
Very little.
Okay, so we're counting on you, Shelby. We're ready to start in about a minute, all right?
Okie dokie.
Okay. And then playing tonight the role of the woodsman is Tom. Now, Tom, you set to go?
Yes.
Speak up, Thomas.
Yes.
You're ready to go. Now, this is your first time performing in the musical theater, right?
Yes.
Well, there's a lot of big critics out there listening, and most of them hate me. So do a good job, all right?
Right.
Okay, Tom, we're about ready to begin.
Okay.
All right, so ladies and gentlemen, here it is, what we've been talking about, part 1 tonight of Hansel and Gretel.
Ladies and gentlemen, WCAR presents the Ed Busch Musical Theater, starring the people of Detroit.
And tonight, ladies and gentlemen, WCAR proudly presents Hansel and Gretel, part 1 on the musical theater. And now, ladies and gentlemen, we ask you to enter into the theater because the show is about to begin. You're the people out in the lobby now. We ask that you come into the theater and have your seat ready. No, don't buy the peanuts and popcorn now because it makes noise during the presentation. Okay, now, ladies and gentlemen, we begin with part 1 of Hansel and Gretel. On the edge of a small clearing near a great forest, there lived a poor woodcutter and his wife and his 2 children, Hansel and Gretel. The wife was the children's stepmother, and she was very cruel to them. They had always been very poor. But one time, there was a great famine in the country, and the woodcutter could not even buy enough food for his family. The poor woodcutter worried day and night. Finally, the woodcutter said to his wife,
What shall we do? We will surely starve. The food we have left is not enough for the children, let alone us.
But the stepmother was determined, and she said,
I have a plan. Early in the morning, we'll take the children into the thickest part of the forest and leave them. They will never find their way home again, and we will be rid of them.
The cruel stepmother. But the woodcutter, he couldn't agree. He said,
I cannot do that.
But the cruel woman forced him to agree. Now Hansel and Gretel heard them talking, and Hansel thought of a clever plan. Creeping outside, he filled his pockets with pebbles. The next morning, before the sun was up, the stepmother shouted to the children,
Get up, you lazy bones. We are going into the forest to cut woods. Here's a piece of bread. Don't eat it yet. You won't get any more.
You're a very vicious stepmother. They set off for the forest with Hansel and Gretel lagging in the rear. Gretel carried their bread, and Hansel stopped every few steps to drop a pebble on the ground. Finally, the father called back, and then the stepmother said,
Hansel, hurry up. What's keeping you? You fool. That's the sunshine reflecting on the woods.
No. You got to stop after the first sentence. Hurry up. What's keeping you? That's what the stepmother said. And then Hansel said to that,
Oh, I'm just looking at my little white kitten who's sitting on the roof. She's trying to say goodbye to me.
And then the stepmother said,
You fool. That's the sunshine reflecting on the woods.
When they reached the middle of the forest, the father built a good fire. Then the stepmother said,
Wait by the fire while we go to chop wood. We will come back to get you.
But don't believe it, kids. Hansel and Gretel fell asleep. When they woke up, it was night. Hansel comforted Gretel, who was frightened by the dark. And then the moon came up, and they could see the pebbles that Hansel had dropped, and they followed them all the way home. When they got home, the cruel stepmother planned again to get rid of them. And the next day, they all went once more into the forest. This time, Hansel was not able to collect the pebbles. He dropped breadcrumbs instead.
I wonder who ate the crumbs. Do you suppose there are huggy bears in these woods?
Because the crumbs were all gone. But no, they weren't huggy bears. The fact was that the birds had eaten them. Suddenly, they saw before them a little house, all made of gingerbread with windows of spun sugar, and they ran towards it eagerly, because that was the only food they had seen in days. But now, ladies and gentlemen, that brings us to intermission on Hansel and Gretel, because that's the end of part 1.
What do you suppose they'll find in that house, huh? Is it maybe Disneyland East? Is it Warren Pierce's home? Well, we'll find out next time when we present part 2 of Hansel and Gretel. And now let me thank my staff here. Shelley, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Another fabulous job. Thank you again. And she was, of course, Hansel. And then we had the fine-toned stepmother, Sarah.
Yes,
Thank you very much for your contribution tonight.
you're welcome.
Thank you. Bye-bye. And then there was Tom, and Tom was the woodsman, right?
Right.
Tom, thank you very much for your contribution.
Welcome.
Okay, bye-bye. There it is. Once again, another fantabulous presentation on the musical theater. And stay tuned next Friday night for the conclusion of Hansel and Gretel.
Well, as incredible as all that seemed, that really all did happen right here, basically in the Detroit area, and that is pretty much what we put together for the 2 hours here. Let's take care of commercial. Be right back. This is W41052 with Ed Busch. For the last couple hours, if you have, you've basically understood what it's like to try and get a job at another radio station. What you do is you take a tape of a performance you have, and you cut out the records and the jingles, so that the records and the commercials, so that the new guy who's going to hire you can get an idea of how you sound on the air. Well, it went back to when I was at Keener. I was very frustrated trying to get a job. I wanted to get into out of rock and roll radio into something else. And I had tried, yeah, I know that is disgusting, guys. But I tried every way I could to get a job, and Mr. Music was still working at Keener. Fate worse than death, or something to that effect. In any event, I then put together a tape called Rockin' Roddy. This has been sent all over the country. In fact, I've been told that Capitol Records at one time was talking about making this into a comedy album. This is Rockin' Roddy. He does everything wrong in putting together a presentation for a job in radio. This is what it sounds like. The hum, everything you hear, don't try and correct it on your radio. It's there for a reason, to sound the worst that it can. And this is Rockin' Roddy.
It's 2:38 on WILD, and now, time for the Rockin' Roddy Show. All right, boys.
Hey, oh, Mike fell again. Thank you very much. Hi, everybody. This is Rockin' Roddy, and a reason I can't get this stupid thing. The reason I'm doing this thing is because I'm looking for a job. To be very honest, I haven't had a whole lot of experience in the radio business. So what I want to do is for someone that will listen to this tape, have them get an idea of just exactly what my talents are. Now, in my background, I was a dispatcher for a taxi company, and I really, car 4, really did well. And, the guy said, hey, you got a great voice for radio and a great face for radio, so why don't you go do something about it? So here I am on these super fine facilities making this wonderful tape. So I certainly hope you really dig my act. So here we go now with the Rockin' Roddy Show. The Rockin' Roddy Show. Well, hi everybody. Good afternoon. Welcome to the Is it afternoon? All right, welcome to the Rockin' Roddy Show. This is your man of music, Rockin' Roddy. Woo!
I know that it's late, and I really must leave you alone.
Well, of course, I realize that you don't want to hear the whole record, so to save time, we'll just cut across it here. It's almost over. Just hang in there. Well, there's Tom Jones here on the Rockin' Roddy Show. And good afternoon. Hey, Stuart. Yeah, Stuart, you want to give me some of those commercials? I realize, of course, thank you, Stu, that it's important for you to know that I can read a commercial. So we'll take just something, that we have laying around here and try and read it, give you an idea how good it is. First, a time check. It is 10 past 2. There is nothing like two wheels
like Honda. No, there is nothing on two wheels like Honda. And there is no... Something's wrong here. Oh, record was going. There's nothing on two wheels like Honda. And there is no Honda store like Anderson Honda. Now listen. Oh, listen now. Through 3 this afternoon, Anderson Honda on West McNichols at the Southfield Freeway will be giving you free slices of delicious, mouth-watering Dino's Pizza to munch on while you browse through the area's widest selection of Honda models, including the new Honda 350 and 450s. Shop the Hondas at Anderson Honda on West McNichols. Yes, there is no Honda store like Anderson Honda. Well, there you see, you get a pretty good idea how I can handle it. Stuart, before I continue, we're recording this is in Stuart's basement, simulating this radio condition. Stuart, I want to thank you. It really sounds good. The equipment is, really moving along. Well, okay, as we continue on here, musically speaking, on the Rock and Roddy Show, here is a group called the Honeycomb. Well, of course, I know you don't want to, again, hear this whole thing through. We'll move it over. All right, everybody, in the Rock and Roddy Show, we move along, ooh, daddy, swinging and sailing and songing. And now, to ask the musical question, Love Me Tonight, here is Tom Jones. This record is really good, and it's one of the best you'll ever hear, so you bet.
That it's late and I really must leave you alone. But you're good to hold and I feel such a long...
I forgot to explain that we have only 2 records. Stuart tried to go down to Kmart and get a couple more, but no luck. Okay, well, let's skip across this one. I hope you don't mind me scratching up your record, Stuart, but this is important for a big job, so here we go. Do that once at a football. No, I was putting records back to back. I just wanted you to know that I know how to handle these things. So, as that record ends, you start another one. So here we go. Starting another record here. The Honeycomb once again here. Amusing myself night after night, sitting all alone while you're in the arms. Well, save time again. We'll finish up the record. Get over there, you son. Oh boy, there's the Honeycombs on the Rock and Roddy Show, and that song is called When You're Out Looking for Sugar. And now, once again, we have another commercial here I want to read so that you get an idea, Stuart, what is happening in the equipment. I want to get an idea of just exactly how I can read. What happened to the commercial, Stuart? Oh, here it is, right at the bottom. Okay. There is, it's really weird equipment, Stuart. There is nothing like 2 wheels on Honda. There is nothing on 2 wheels like Honda. And see, I read the same commercial, so you get an idea how I can handle it. I love you. Okay, and there is no Honda store like Anderson Honda. See, it gets better. Listen. No, not to that. Now through 3 this afternoon. It's 2:30. This afternoon, Stuart, it's a bad commercial here, or spot as we call it in the business. This afternoon, Anderson Honda on West McNichols at the Southfield Freeway will be giving you free slices of delicious, mouth-watering Dino's Pizza to munch on. Yes, there's no Honda store like Anderson Honda. So I skipped some of the middle part there. I'm sure I realize exactly how to read it and how to control those things. And so we just continue on here. And now more music on the Rock and Roddy Show. as we continue wailing and sailing and singing a song. Well, that about does it for the Rock and Ronnie show. We'll finish off here. It's not quite over here. See here. We're on speed, too. Yeah, it's over, Stuart. Well, I think from this little demonstration you get an idea. Yeah, we still have tape. I get an idea of what kind of job I can do, and I would really appreciate your help. I need a job bad, and I just, there's just not much work done at the taxi place in the way of announcing. So thanks a lot, and I really like to work for you, whoever you are.
Well, that is Rocket Roddy, WWWW Detroit, and I don't know what better way to finish it off with than Rocket Roddy. What was some of my thoughts on putting together a presentation for a radio station. I hope maybe in the last 2 hours you've learned a bit about radio and the fact that maybe you ought to continue working at Ford's on the assembly line and not try radio. It's quite bizarre. I've enjoyed 10 years and all of it with you. I thank you very much. And Dave Watson is next.